Abraham Lincoln's presidency was extraordinary, and even today he is considered an American icon. His leadership during the fight against slavery and the Civil War are still remembered today. But what is the story behind the man called Honest Abe? In 1809, Abraham Lincoln was born in a log cabin in Hodgenville, Kentucky. His parents, Thomas and Nancy Lincoln, raised their family in a Baptist home. Although his childhood education was limited, Lincoln did go to school and learned reading, writing, and arithmetic. He had a growing passion for books and loved to spend every minute of his spare time reading. As a teenager, Abraham Lincoln was an earnest worker and an honest young man. Even as a store clerk, he showed honesty to all his customers. If he accidentally shortchanged someone, he would always make an effort to return the correct amount of money to them. Some townspeople heard of his honesty, and he gained the nickname Honest Abe. Abraham Lincoln was fond of telling funny stories and loved to be around people. He was always known for wearing his signature top hat while walking in town, not just for looks, but it also came in handy. He would tuck important papers inside of it to keep them safe. Towering over people, Lincoln was 6'4" and probably looked even taller with his hat on. Later becoming interested in a legal career, Lincoln studied to obtain the position of a lawyer. He achieved his goal and received his license just 3 years later. Lincoln was perfectly fit to be a lawyer and had a very successful career for nearly 25 years. Around 1840, he met his true love, Mary Todd, at a party. They were married on November 4th, 1842, and later had 4 boys named Robert, Edward, Willie, and Tad. Sadly, his son Edward died at age 3 due to untreatable thyroid cancer. In 1846, he obtained the position of U.S. Congressman for Illinois, gaining much-needed experience and knowledge while serving the position for 8 years. He had an interest in engineering and came across an idea. He made a model of a device that would free steamboats when they ran ashore and presented it to become a patent. In 1849, Lincoln's idea was approved. He was thoroughly convinced it would be beneficial to the boating and shipping industries. However, despite his determination, they never approved to use it nor manufactured it. That didn't stop Lincoln. In 1860, he represented the Republican Party, running for the presidential office with vice president candidate Hannibal Hamlin. Lincoln's slogan was "Vote Yourself a Farm." It referenced his support of the Homestead Act, which would make Western lands available to settlers without payment, using the lands for farming purposes. Without a doubt, Abraham Lincoln won the election and became the 16th President of the United States. His inauguration speech was held on March 4, 1861, in the White House. His vice president, Hannibal Hamlin, wasn't personally close to the Lincoln family. However, Lincoln and Hamlin had a very good working relationship, which was needed in one of America's most darkest times. One of Lincoln's biggest issues he encountered was slavery. A majority of the southern states owned black slaves and were completely against them gaining equal rights, let alone any rights. However, the northern states thought otherwise, and a widespread division occurred amongst a once united nation. The southern states declared themselves separate from the Union, calling themselves the Confederacy. On April 12, 1861, Confederates bombarded Union soldiers in South Carolina, officially starting the Civil War. Lincoln witnessed the aftermath and loss of many men on both sides of the Civil War. In 1863, he realized the only way to save America was to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. This proclamation allowed black soldiers the right to fight for the Union in the Civil War. This proved to be the missing factor the Union needed to gain victory. However, the war still waged on. In October of the same year, in honor of the Union Army's victory, Lincoln declared Thanksgiving as a national holiday to be celebrated on the last Thursday of November. On November 1863, Lincoln gave his famous Gettysburg Address. He honored the men who lost their lives in the Civil War, captured the true reason for war, and provided an inspiration to finish the fight and preserve the nation. Lincoln's former vice president, Hannibal Hamlin, leaned more toward Confederate states. So, hoping for a better fit for his presidency during the Civil War, Lincoln ran for a second term with vice president candidate Andrew Johnson. Lincoln's slogan for his second campaign was "Don't swap horses in the middle of the stream." This referenced the people's decision of not electing a new president during the stream of the Civil War. Because of his loyalty to Americans during the chaos of the war, on November 8, 1864, the people elected Abraham Lincoln for another term. Vice President Johnson and Lincoln weren't very close either, but they managed to lead America through this war. In 1865, the Civil War came to an end when Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered. With the war over, Lincoln thought everything was settled, but was completely unaware of a man named John Wilkes Booth secretly plotting against him. John Wilkes Booth had a very twisted way of thinking. He kept a diary with him and wrote many entries falsely accusing Lincoln of acting like a tyrant. He was acquainted with many Confederates, which warped his way of thinking even more. Booth plotted to kidnap Lincoln, but took a twisted turn into a plan of full assassination of him. He believed he was doing a heroic favor by reconstructing the Union, taking out the one man that seemed to be in the way of his devious plan. On the evening of April 15, 1865, Lincoln and his wife attended a play at Ford's Theater. They were comfortably sitting in the presidential box enjoying the play. Lincoln had told his guards to take the night off, so he sat, unprotected, in a rocking chair. Booth snuck up to the box where Lincoln was sitting and pointed a .44 caliber single-shot Derringer in the back of Lincoln's head. At 10:15 p.m., Booth pulled the trigger and shot Lincoln. He quickly jumped out of the box and onto the stage, proclaiming, "Sic semper tyrannis," meaning "ever thus to tyrants." Lincoln was quickly rushed to a nearby house, and a surgeon declared that his brain damage was too severe. He would die later that night. Lincoln died at 7:22 a.m. in the bed of the house. He sadly became the first president to ever be assassinated. The nation mourned in the loss of their president. Union soldiers and many others were seeking justice and were hot on the trail of John Wilkes Booth. He was finally spotted at a Virginia farmhouse on April 26. Union troops shot him in the back of the neck. Booth thought he was a hero, but would be remembered for his devious actions, making him an assassin. Abraham Lincoln is considered the greatest president of the United States. He is remembered for his vital role in preserving the Union during the Civil War. His knowledge and humble character exemplified not only what a great president should possess, but also what a great Christian leader should possess. He ultimately trusted that God had a timing for everything, and that no matter what, God could use any situation for good. God used him to turn the gears of American segregation toward unity as a united nation. Lincoln portrayed integrity, honesty, and extraordinary Christian leadership in his decisions that radically changed American history to this very day.